There's been a lot of emphasis that has been put on sort of understanding the core learning and memory impairments in Alzheimer's disease. And I specifically work with mouse models of Alzheimer's disease, and in particular the APP-NLGF model. And it has been sort of well characterized of how, if you give them a single test, how their memory is impaired and how that corresponds with increasing levels of amyloid. But I wanted to sort of push that a little bit further, because obviously for a lot of Alzheimer's patients, it's not the first time that they're going to be learning something. It's not their first experience. They've got a whole past life of events that have occurred to them. So I wanted to push it a little bit further and understand the sort of wider events and how those implicate learning. So I started off looking at the effect of sort of peri-learning mechanisms, so events that happen in close proximity to a learning event, and what we call the behavioural tagging and capture process, where a memory that by itself you wouldn't necessarily remember, but if there's a big novelty that occurs around that, it can help push the persistence of that memory. It's sort of what we refer to as light bulb memories. And then following that, I then moved into the effect of prior experience. So if in this case the mice already have a learning experience, if we change the context slightly but still present that same experience, then we can start to see shifts in the underlying learning mechanisms, particularly focused around the NMDA receptors. So the main findings that I presented here was to do with the latter part, and that is that it seems to suggest in the model that I use, the APP-NLGF mice, that there may be some impairments at an early stage of their pathology in terms of their ability to switch learning mechanisms with the prior experience. So once they've already had experience of, in my case, a fear conditioning task. But this is also something that we're continuing to work on in the lab, and the other PhD student is working with the APP-PS1 mouse, and she's got some really exciting results, which hopefully you'll get to hear about next year perhaps. So the obvious sort of next step is to then further understand how their pathology might relate with their ability to switch a learning mechanism, maybe investigate a bit further how in the NLGF mouse model, if there are any differences within the sort of receptors underneath that might explain this.